What's up, everybody? It's Pastor Nathan here. I am so honored and blessed to be with you guys this morning. I wanted to share something real quick with you about these Devos. One of the things that made me fall in love with New Life Church in the first place were these Devos. When Kat and I, my wife and I, started going to New Life Church, we immediately got on these daily Devos and were always incredibly encouraged by them, challenged by them. And we genuinely feel like, in a lot of ways, our faith grew and our walk with God grew because of the encouragement and the challenges. So now I get to be a part of them as a pastor, and I'm just super honored to be with you guys this morning. But here we are in beautiful Costa Rica. We just took our youth on a missions trip to Costa Rica, and we're currently on day 5. We've seen a lot of really cool ways that God has moved and orchestrated so many things, so many God moments and Holy Spirit moments, and it's been amazing, really, really cool to see and witness. But we are in our 6th week of the Life of David series, and specifically we are in 2 Samuel 11 and 12. All right, 2 Samuel 11 starts out with the story of Bathsheba. David, for whatever reason, we never really know, because usually kings go and fight in battle with their people, but this instance, David stayed back. And we see in the story that David is on the rooftop bathing, and he looks across and sees Bathsheba bathing as well, and eventually sends his guards to grab her and bring her back to his living quarters, and ends up sleeping with Bathsheba. It's important to know that in this story, it really is geared towards the sin of David, and there's never any explanation of sin from Bathsheba. And this is all geared towards the sin of David. And how often times do, in a lot of ways, and in the end of the story, we see he covers up this sin by sending Bathsheba's husband into battle where he was killed. How often times do we, whenever we sin, we try and cover it up with something that really just makes the situation even worse. And in chapter 12, we see Nathan come into the story where he basically just calls out David and calls him out. He shares a parable that David at the time doesn't really realize, but the parable is about David. Then gets frustrated with Nathan and ends up making these 4 rules that end up really happening to him. And one of those things was the baby that he impregnated Bathsheba with ends up dying. And this story is just crazy, right? And David starts out by sin, and then we have a prophet named Nathan that God calls and challenges David. Number one, we should never really try to hide our sin with covering it up. And really, we need people like Nathan in our life to challenge us, to call us out, and to make sure that we're making the right decisions. But one thing that I love so much about David, and we see in Psalm 51 specifically, one thing I love about David is David has always been a man after God's own heart. A lot of people question, okay, why is David a man after God's own heart when he's done all of these? Honestly, he's done some pretty awful things as a king. Well, one of those things is because David always knows where to return. And so here's your cheesy pastor illustration, but the other night we were up here on this roof doing debriefs, and one of our students wanted to grab his empty cup and throw it into the pool, which is 4 stories down that direction. I was like, sure, why not? We looked down at the pool, and it is perfectly glass. Where I grew up, we called it butter. It was perfectly butter. And he throws the glass into the pool, and it lands perfectly in the middle. And then all of a sudden you see these really beautiful ripples, right? And all these ripples go, and then they hit the wall. And I feel like oftentimes we're living our lives and we decide to sin, and that sin is that wall. And what I want us to do, and what happened with the cup, the ripples hit the wall, and then they returned. They returned back to where it was created, returned back to the thing that created it. And what I would love for us always to be, and what David was, regardless of the times that he hit the wall, regardless of the times that he hit rock bottom and made poor decisions and did something that he was going to regret, or did something that was going to cause all of these consequences, like losing his son that he had with Bathsheba, he always knew where to return. And in Psalm 51, we see at the very beginning, this is David singing to God. Have mercy on me, O God, according to your steadfast love, according to your abundant mercy. Blot out my transgressions. Wash me thoroughly from my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin. I just want to encourage you guys this morning. I just want us to be a people, New Life Church, to be a people where, regardless of the things that we're going through, regardless of the decisions that we make, whether it's sin, whether it's anything that's going to cause a lasting effect, I just pray as a pastor of the youth as well with these students, but I just pray that we are a people that always know where to return, that we always run back to the Father. I hope that encouraged you guys. I love you guys. I'm super honored and thankful to be with you guys. Bye.